What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Inspired by It. My name's Will and I make an assortment of music under the moniker Hush Child. We've got so much to cover in this video, but overall I want to show you the benefits of adding noise to your music or instruments. See, adding the right noise with the correct tail or attack can really add a lot of richness to your chosen instruments. Okay, so this video is of course sponsored by my friends DistroKid, and if you're interested in how you can use DistroKid and get into NFTs, then make sure you stick around until the end of the episode. Right now I've got a pre-made example of what we're working with without noise. Let's take a listen. And if we add some noise to some of our instruments and the background of our track, notice how it sounds. In this video, I'm going to be outlining a lot of Cable Guy's Shaper Box, and they're sponsoring our future beat battles. If you're not familiar with the beat battles yet, head down into the description, find the Discord, and you can find out how you can take part in the beat battle and win some Cable Guy's goodies as well. So before we jump into the pre-made track, which you guys can download at the Patreon as always, I also have some new Patreon goodies coming your way in the next few weeks. Let's look at how I shape sound using Shaper Box and how I like to use it with individual instruments. So when you open up NoiseShaper, you're met with this screen here, and I just have a tiny little rim shot click that's been really trimmed down, so we're getting just the transient noise. When we turn on Shaper Box 2 and select NoiseShaper, there's a whole bunch of other parameters that we can couple with our music or our sound, but today I just want to show you the benefit of using noise within your music and why I think NoiseShaper is so powerful. When we apply that to our rim shot click, we get this. And I think that's brilliant in itself. It adds a lot of punch. We can also EQ that sound. So we can make it sound darker or brighter to our taste. And we can also adjust the attack and release of these sounds. For electronic music and especially lo-fi, I like to go up to white noise and look at all the different presets they have, and they have some really nice outdoor sounds. This can be brilliant for adding a little bit of character to your music, as you'll see in the pre-made track I have. If you select noise only, you're only going to hear the noise, not the trigger sound. So notice we don't hear that rim shot click anymore. Or we can set NoiseShaper to duck the sound. So we go from follow to duck. So we can have like an inverted effect. This works really well on an entire beat. Here I have a drum beat with some brown noise, EQ'd a little bit and set to duck. When it hears those transients come through, it will duck that sound, which adds this really nice pump-in effect to your music. Let's apply the kick here. I think that's a really powerful way to create some bounce for your music. Another thing that NoiseShaper is great for doing is adding a little bit of aggression to your chosen instrument as well. I've got a neuro bass here in Serum, which is already slightly aggressive, but it doesn't have the punch that I want just yet. So what I can do is come down here to Shaper Box. And with this particular example, I've chosen the Moonbugs preset under Broken, which is going to give it a little bit more of a bit crushed effect. You can see that I've pretty harshly EQ'd this, and now we get this. If I solo that noise only, you can see that it's still reading that transient, but it's adding this almost like bit crushed noise, which is making my sound really aggressive. So I think that's a really amazing way to not only add a little bit of character to your chosen instrument, but to also use NoiseShaper as a mixing technique to allow an instrument to cut through the mix a little bit better. Okay, so we've looked at a couple of examples of how it works with individual instruments, but let's put it into a musical context. Let's jump into what I've pre-made for you guys today. I've gone for like a burial-esque future garage sounding track. I've got this kick here that I made out of 3 other sounds. We've got a transient sound, a mid sound, and then a nice boxy sound too for the tail. And I wanted to create like a burial kick sound. So we've got this here. Without anything on it, it just sounds like this. So I've used that ducking noise technique on the kick drum. I don't want it to be affected by other transients in the track. And I've got this second kick drum, which is slightly darker as you can see by the EQ here, but I've added a little bit of brighter noise to that second kick drum. It allows it to get pulled through the mix a little bit better, but it remains a kind of darker tone characteristically. With the snare sounds, I actually put NoiseShaper on the group and I wanted to choose this keys rattle sound. It's got an ever so slight arc to it. So it's a little bit louder here than it is down here. And you can see that I've really harshly EQ'd NoiseShaper here. So this is giving some character to the instrument. Before it just sounded like this. And now I'm adding these keys rattling to the sound. I think that's a very burial-esque thing to do, and before that I would have just chosen some samples from Splice and placed them around my snares, so it's definitely sped up the workflow. My hi-hats are just left very sparse and dry. So when you put everything together, you pretty much get the drum track that I have. I wanted to add some excitement to this rhythm, so I actually found a hi-hat rhythm that I liked, but it was way too harsh to add on top of my mix. And that's a really nice like skippy shuffle rhythm. And the transients and the style of the groove is lovely. So again, I added the NoiseShaper, this time coupling it with the volume shaper and the pan. So let's look at NoiseShaper just on its own first. So what I've got in NoiseShaper is noise only selected. So it's not going to play the actual sample sound, but it's just going to copy the transient shapes and replace it with this subtle flange sound. And as you can see from the get-go, I've automated the frequency as well. So this gives a little bit more movement to the track. But I've coupled this with the volume shaper, which is doing something equally unique with the NoiseShaper. Normally I would just set this to act as like a sidechain function. So it's ducking on the quarter note margin. But I've actually only got this mid frequency ducking, and you can see that the high frequency isn't ducking. So that means as my frequency moves from this higher section into a more low frequency, it will create more of a bounce. As it moves back into the higher frequency, you'll be able to hear more of that noise. And then I've applied that to the pan as well. The pan has this cool rhythmic shape to it, but it's only being applied here in the mids. So as it moves away from that higher frequency and jumps into the lows, the sound stays completely mono. It's a great way to get some movement in your drums. I'm going to apply that to the rest of the drum beat. Some of the other techniques that I wanted to adopt were a little bit more simple, like the NoiseShaper here just being used in one area, and I'm just automating the pan of that area as well. So we get some noise that moves through the track. I could have also done this with the pan function inside ShaperBox. So this is just set to noise only, and the envelope draws that noise in. It doesn't need to follow any particular audio stem. To give it a little bit more randomness and a bit of a boost, I added the bit crusher after, playing in the same spot, and then a little bit of a filter to duck some of that high energy sound that will be moving through this section. But you can hear there's a little bit unique each time because I've set the length as 2 bars. I love textural sound in place of a crash or to signify to the listener that changes come in. So on this track, using the NoiseShaper alongside the filter, I created this really squiggly shape to act as almost like a tremolo piece of noise in place of a crash. You can see at the bottom here, I've got a lot of automation as well, automating the cutoffs and automating the smoothing of that sound too. Check this out. Let's apply that to our drum rhythm and see how it sounds. What if we were to apply it to a melodic element? Here, with ShaperBox turned off, I just have this really quiet operator pluck. So what I'm going to do is turn this down to about -3.7 and turn ShaperBox on. Now listen to the characteristic of that pluck. Notice how I've got the drive turned on there, which is again adding a new characteristic to the operator sound. And the noise is now playing this blowing bubbles preset, which has again been EQ'd there. If I just select noise only, this is what you're hearing. I've kept that really low in the mix, and then that just adds to the overall aesthetic of my burial inspired track. So I mentioned previously that this video is sponsored as always with DistroKid, and I think they make it the easiest way to get your music on all of the streaming services, but they've just brought out DistroKid Sellouts. If you want to get into the world of NFTs, this is a brilliant way to do it. See, DistroKid is launching 10,000 individualized collectible carbon negative NFTs on Gemini's nifty gateway platform. This member-centric NFT collection is called Sellouts. 10,000 artists will customize their sellout NFT and join the waitlist to be part of the initial drop on December 15th. Each NFT shows the DistroKid mascot holding the artist's album artwork, and each cell is customized by a musician with more than 300 traits, making each sellout unique to the artist. Sellouts are absolutely free to all DistroKid members, and most importantly, future DistroKid members. So if you want to sign up, make sure you use the affiliate link in the description below. The brilliant thing about this is that artists will earn any proceeds of sales or resales of their sellout NFTs. And these NFTs are not tied to any intellectual rights of the music. They're completely separate, but you can do it both through DistroKid. Make sure you get involved before the 15th of December. All you need to do is sign up to DistroKid, use the VIP link in the description below if you're not already a member, and then head to distrokid.com/sellouts. So we're on a slightly different tip with these kind of burial future garage sounds today, but I'd love to know what you guys think of NoiseShaper and how you're going about giving your tracks that richness. Is there any kind of sampling techniques that you couple up your drum sounds with? Let me know, and let me know what you want to see in future videos. As always guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.